According to the famous Pew Research Center, the number of internet users worldwide in 1995 was about 50 million, mostly from institutions in industrialized countries. But just 20 years later, in 2015, the number of internet users reached 3.5 billion. Another 8 years passed, and by the end of 2023, the number of users reached 5.3 billion. So, what could happen if the internet went out for the entire world? Welcome to the 4Idea channel. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you get our videos first. First, before we answer that question, we need to ask, could the internet really be cut off from the entire world one day? Could a major disaster, like a massive earthquake or a nuclear war, cause a total internet blackout? The truth is, as long as the Earth is intact, the internet will continue. The internet now is like water and electricity. Our reliance on it has become an essential part of daily life. Even if someone tried to shut down the internet worldwide through a deliberate act of sabotage, they wouldn't be able to. Unless, of course, there was a cosmic catastrophe like a giant meteor impact. In that case, the lack of the internet wouldn't be our biggest concern because we likely wouldn't be around. But if we assume that the Earth continues, the internet will also continue. The internet infrastructure, which is spread out through cables, servers, and satellites, makes it not reliant on a single device or group of devices. A country might ban some sites or stop the internet within its borders, but that remains a local issue. Massive outages affecting multiple countries can happen, like in 2008 when a major undersea cable was cut, disrupting the internet for several countries in the Indian subcontinent. But in the end, these were just outages, and things were fixed and moved on. All this tells us that our question is purely hypothetical. So no one should worry, the internet is here to stay. Let's assume there's a button we could press to shut down the internet for the entire world. According to researchers, if the internet were cut off for a week, there would be some minor economic disasters, but they'd pass. Some companies that rely entirely on the internet, like Meta, Google, and Amazon, might lose billions of dollars, but in the end, everyone would recover and the world would go on. The real problem is if the outage lasts longer than that. The most affected group would be internet addicts. This group has become so dependent on the internet that it's almost pathological. The absence of the internet would have a huge impact on them, losing the means of communication they're used to, whether through social media sites or online games, or anything else that requires the internet. The emotional damage would be significant, and researchers predict that there would be reports of people wanting to end their lives. For some people, the internet is literally their whole life, and its absence means a huge void that many wouldn't be able to handle. Moving on to the more serious effects, if we talk about the impact of the internet outage on service sectors in general, we'll find, for example, that the transportation sector would be the most disrupted. Keep in mind, the transportation sector alone can cause complete paralysis worldwide. Transportation is what gets people to their jobs and allows them to run their errands. Since the internet is now heavily integrated into the transportation sector, the first thing to happen would be the breakdown of self-driving and electric cars. Some researchers even say that any kind of vehicle would struggle. This is simply because all traffic, navigation, and fuel systems currently rely on digital systems and the internet. For instance, electronic gates at city entrances won't open without the internet, and most traffic lights inside cities won't work. This would lead to accidents and traffic jams everywhere, affecting the entire world. As for e-commerce, it speaks for itself. Anyone relying on the internet for business and trade would completely disappear from the global market and economy. From YouTubers like us to the largest companies like Meta and Amazon. This could lead even the strongest economies to collapse due to the end of the e-commerce era, especially considering that a country like the US relies on the digital economy for 33% of its GDP. Now, let's talk about something the entire global financial system depends on: banks. Remember the beginning of the crisis between Ukraine and Russia? What was the West threatening Russia with? If you were following the events, you surely heard the phrase, "We will cut Russia off from the SWIFT system." SWIFT is a global system for bank transfers between countries, and the West was threatening to ban Russia from using it, thereby preventing it from buying and selling. Now imagine if the SWIFT system was shut down for the entire world, not just Russia. there's no doubt there would be a complete collapse of the global economy. And just so you know, if the internet were cut off from the world for just one day, a country like the US would lose about $11 billion. That's not all. Imagine how our daily lives would be affected without the internet. We rely on the internet for simple things like ordering food delivery, booking travel tickets, following the news, communicating with family and friends, and learning remotely. Without the internet, we would have to go back to traditional methods, which would be very difficult for us because we are used to the speed and convenience the internet provides. That's it for today. If you watched the video to the end, don't forget to support us by subscribing and liking the video. Thank you.